everyone, welcome to Epitome of Episodes. I'm your host, Streed, and this is the show I review every episode of shows I enjoy. And today I'm reviewing Fraggle Rock, Season 1, Episode 6, The Preachification of Convincing John. So the episode starts out with Doc smashing some bits of dog food. While Sprocket asks for food, Doc gets distracted and tells Sprocket of his new hobby of keeping a diary. Doc decides to share one of his innermost passionate secrets.
Here's a very special, private, secret thought. Wouldn't it be fun to figure out a way to sew a button on a fried egg? Button on a fried egg, that's a really interesting problem.
That has to be the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
Everyone should keep a diary, Sprocket.
I would, but I'm afraid if someone gets a hold of it, my deepest secrets will be exposed, so every time I try to write a diary, I end up tearing it up and flushing it down the toilet. That's not a joke. I've done this multiple times. So back in Fraggle Rock, Moki's in a dark room, reminding me of Lucio Fulci's A Lizard in a Woman's Skin. She recounts a recent trouble from a few days ago, starting with her watching the Doozers, and we get a neat transition with a very good drawing of a Doozer. We get an inner monologue from Moki sympathizing with the Doozers.
Most Fraggles don't care about Doozers. They just want to eat the Doozers' buildings.
Hi-yo! Hey, Boomer! Come on, I'll race you to the pool!
Moki then sings a serene song, questioning nature, humanity, and reality. It's quite a philosophical and mesmerizing song.
Why do caterpillars crawl? Why is there a sky? Why is there a world at all? And why do I ask why?
Moki munches on some Doozer constructions and marvels at the craftsmanship, then apologizes to a Doozer. We get another detailed sketch of a Doozer whilst Moki questions the moral implications of devouring Doozer constructions. Bobo and the Fraggles come back from hanging out and Wimbley eats some Doozer construction. Moki ponders to Wimbley whether it's right to eat Doozer constructions. Wimbley seems to be fine with it. She argues the Doozers work hard on their constructions and finds it wrong that the Fraggles just destroy them. Moki's come up with a decision much to the rebuttal of Gobo and the Fraggles.
Well, the plug came out and her brain drained away.
I love that line. Whenever some bitch pisses me off, I'm gonna say the blood came out and her brain drained away. Moki calls for the solemn oath of the Fraggles, and according to Fraggle law, once someone calls the oath, the others must swear to it. Honestly, I think this rule is dangerous when you have Fraggles like Marlin around. You'll see him pretty soon. If Marlin was smart, he'd use this rule to his advantage and be like, I call the oath for me to be king of the Fraggles! And that would automatically make him king because of that defunct rule. Am I reading too much into this? So Moki and the Fraggles swear to the solemn oath to never eat or willingly destroy Doozer constructions again. Moki sketches another detailed picture, and for her recounting a terrible time from the past few days, she sure sounds enthusiastic about telling a supposedly troubling event.
The Fraggle Five went out to meet our destiny. Oh, I just love diaries.
Gobo and Wimbley go down to the tunnel to collect Traveling Matt's postcard, while Moki follows them to keep an eye on them, due to the Doozers recently building a big overpass. Odd place for the Doozers to build their constructions. Aren't they a little intimidated by Sprocket and Doc's outside presence? Gobo and Wimbley are having a real hard time suppressing their temptation to eat Doozer constructions, kinda like me when I'm in the chip aisle. So back in the workshop, Doc is still working on sewing a button on a fried egg instead of feeding his poor dog Sprocket. He gets a call from Steve while Gobo retrieves his card unscathed.
Hello?
Hey, Jerry.
Oh, hi, Steve.
Hey, you trying to sew a button on an eggplant?
No, I'm trying to sew a button on a fried egg.
Why?
What do you mean, why? I haven't even figured out how yet.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, maybe to fasten it to the toast so it won't slide off. That's why. Silly question.
But there's one major flaw with this nobody seems to have noticed. This is a flashback episode with Moki in the dark room being what's happening now. Yet we see Doc working on sewing a button to a fried egg at the beginning, but also in the flashback. Either someone fucked up in continuity horribly, or the opening was part of the flashback too, which wouldn't make any sense. So to take their minds off their hunger, Gobo reads the postcard. Matt finds construction workers and mistakes them for giant doozers. Also, I love the attention to detail to give them the same colored hats as the actual doozers. Matt, thinking these constructions look delicious and edible, discovers the horrible truth.
The food is terrible.
This card gets Moki furious when suddenly Gobo and Wembley eat the doozer constructions after hearing Matt's card, and we get some funny dialogue.
I forgot. I forgot with him.
Moki is enraged and vows to make all Fraggle stop eating doozer constructions, even if it takes the help of one of the most dangerous and peculiar Fraggles alive.
Convincing John.
Convincing John?
Yes, convincing John can convince anyone to do anything.
Oh, she wouldn't really get convincing John, would she?
No, nobody would do a thing like that.
Moki states it said that convincing John can make the stones change color. I don't think that's convincing, that's some kind of witchcraft. So Moki and Red go off to find convincing John, and the tunnel they're in looks very similar to Blue Rock, which we'll see in a future episode. Moki managed to book convincing John to convince all the Fraggles to stop eating doozer constructions, but convinced Moki to wear cups on her hands, and convinced Red to blindfold herself. Word of advice, ladies, if a guy convinces you to blindfold yourself, run. So the next day, Moki organizes a meeting, and I have no idea why, but convincing John's first scene is so needlessly and unintentionally badass.
Mr. John! Yoo-hoo, Mr. John! Are you ready?
He'll be ready. Just get started.
Moki introduces convincing John, and John sings a really catchy 1950s swinger type song.
Well, now listen to me, Fraggles, with your Fraggle mouths of whack. You can chew a doozer tower till you're blue. But there's a mighty day a-comin' when the food will hit your tummy, and you'll know that what I'm telling you is true.
It's true.
So if you want to get a hold of something extra good as gold, you gotta stop and give a thought to what you do.
What you do?
Never eat another tower until I tell you what it's doing to you.
What's it
I'll tell you.
Listen to convincing John, and all your troubles will be gone. He's gonna tell it, spell it, sell it, just for you.
Also, there's a weird part about this tune. Even as a child, I questioned.
Then he started to change, and then he started to rearrange, and then I promise you the story is true.
It's true.
By the time it was done, he was a human being through and through. He was.
How does convincing John know what a human is? All the other Fraggles called them silly creatures, but he called them by their direct name. Now it makes sense for someone as mysterious as Cantus to know, but how does convincing John know? Convincing John's convincing, ultimately works, and all the Fraggles swear to never eat doozer constructions again. So I'd assume we'll be a few days later. Fraggle Rock is overpopulated with doozer constructions, even in Boober's wash tub, so another meeting is organized. Honestly, I like Moki, but she's so oblivious to the issue here and makes a comment that kind of boils me a little.
Maybe they want to thank me.
Not the world's oldest Fraggle hosts the meeting, but everything goes haywire, and Moki is dead set in her defunct misinformed cause to help the doozers.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, smack you. You've made a mess of things here today. Now, admit it and release us from this solemn oath.
Never! You're all just heartless. You don't understand. I'm the only one that truly cares about the happiness of the doozers.
Doozers, schmoozers. What about Fraggles?
Well, Fraggle Schmaggles. And if you don't appreciate me, I'll just go find someone who does.
So Moki goes off and finally tries to communicate with the very creature she thinks she knows best for, but finds out the bleak truth.
But, Mommy, I don't want to leave.
None of us do, dear, but doozers have to build, and soon there'll be no more space left in Fraggle Rock.
But why, Mommy Doozer?
No one knows. The Fraggles have become heartless. If they will not eat the constructions, we must move on, or we will die.
So for the first time, I understood.
Well, time to go. Say goodbye to Fraggle Rock.
Moki finally realizes her mistake and tries to correct it in order to do what she's been trying to do all along, so she organizes another meeting to release the Fraggles of their oath to never eat Doozer Constructions again. So convincing John strolls in and sings a reprise, only this time promoting eating Doozer Constructions. So back in the present, Moki learns a lesson that still holds up today.
Well, dear diary, it's not easy to understand other people's problems, but it's very easy to think you do.
Back in the workshop, Sprocket is still begging for breakfast, and Doc finally sews a button on a fried egg and records how to do it in his diary. Then he decides to give Sprocket the egg for breakfast. Asshole. So that was Fraggle Rock, Season 1, Episode 6, a lesson on the hazards of false activism. Fighting for a cause without the proper information and input from the people you're trying to help will only harm the individuals. A very mature lesson for a children's show. This is one of my favorite episodes. Everything about it is marvelous. Well guys, that was the review, and I will see you all next time.